Hey guys, Kitty Feldy here. How many times have you had to explain to your Uncle Dominic what a podcast is? Well, this month, Book Club for Kids is joining with shows across America to spread the word to Uncle Dom and everybody else in the family about podcasts. Take a moment to show them how to download a podcast on their smartphone, and then brag a little bit to the rest of the world on social media. It's easy. Just tell the world which podcast you helped Uncle Dom subscribe to and post it on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram with the hashtag Tripod. That's TRYPOD. You will be doing your part to reach out to the 4 out of 5 Americans who haven't yet discovered podcasts. That's TRYPOD, hashtag Tripod, and thanks.
It's the book club for kids.
It's a book club for kids.
It's the book club for kids.
It's the book club for kids podcast.
Hi, I'm Kitty Feldy. This week we enter the magical world where witches are the good guys and monsters are just cute little dogs and snakes and other creatures. It's writer Claire Legrand's novel, Foxheart.
"You should forget about your parents," said the stranger. "They abandoned you. They're not worth thinking about. Don't waste one more moment on them."
That's our celebrity reader, the wonderful actor Wesley Mann. Our readers at the Boulder Bookstore in Colorado debate whether they are ready to pack up and head out on their own great adventure.
I wouldn't go on a quest if I still live the life I live right now, because I really like my life, and I think it's a really good life, and I wouldn't want to leave it, but if I lived Quicksilver's life, which is the main character, I would.
And our writer Claire Legrand shares the long list of questions she asks herself every time she writes a book.
Okay, well, is there magic in this world? Yes, there is. How does it work? Who can do it? What are the rules?
This is the Book Club for Kids, the show where kids talk about books. We'll tell you how you can be on the show a little later on. But first, let's head out to a cozy bookstore in the Rocky Mountains and meet our group of readers.
Hi, my name's Kylis. I'm in 7th grade and I go to Southern Hills Middle School in Boulder, Colorado.
Hi, my name's Gabby. I'm in 7th grade and I go to school at Southern Hills Middle School in Boulder, Colorado.
Okay, I live in the same place, go to the same school, I'm in the same grade, but I'm Iona, so yay.
All right, so Kylis, you were the one that picked this book. Tell me why you liked this book. Why'd you pick this book?
I'm a big fan of fantasy and it has a lot of magic and time travel. It's about like witches, which I really enjoy.
It starts out with this girl who doesn't have any parents. She's in a convent, I think that's how you pronounce it, I don't know. But this guy called the Wolf King comes and he has like 7 magical wolves. And they kind of kill all the people where she lives and she runs away. And then this like older version of herself comes back and tells her about like this war and how the Wolf King is evil and tries to destroy all these witches and how the main character is a witch. And then like they travel back in time and I don't know, I don't want to spoil it, but it's a really good book.
She meets this dog named Fox. So she runs away with Fox and she's a thief, so she goes to somebody's house and tries to get food, and a guy comes down and she meets him, and so then they travel back in time together.
What's this guy's name?
Sly Boots, yeah. So then Quicksilver, which is her name, she comes up with that name for herself. Quicksilver and Sly Boots and Fox, and then the older version of Quicksilver, who they call Anastasia, because that's her real name. They travel back in time to fight the Wolf King, and because they're witches and they don't want him to wipe out the race of witches.
Well, let's talk a little bit about our main character.
She's an orphan. She's kind of made fun of a lot because she doesn't have a name, and she has a squashed nose and gray hair, but she's a kid, so they call her Pig Nose and stuff like that. But she's kind of really angry inside, and she starts stealing stuff. She learns that she's a really good thief, and then she gets her dog Fox, and they kind of go around and steal stuff and make trouble for all the nuns.
She's not very loving, so when people show her love or affection, she doesn't react to it very well, or she's confused, and when she feels something for someone, she's also confused. She's like, what the heck, I don't care about him. She's a unique character, and she's very stubborn. I found that. And then, spoiler alert here, her dog can talk.
Well, let's hear a bit from the book where Quicksilver encounters a mysterious stranger who seems to know an awful lot about her, including her real name. Quicksilver is given 3 guesses to figure out who she is. Our reader is the actor Wesley Mann.
The stranger chuckled. You always are an arrogant young thing. What a strange thing to say, Quicksilver thought. If the stranger's laugh had been an animal, it would have been a snake, old and sly. Quicksilver's pounding heart seemed to fill every inch of her body. Let's just go home, urged Slyboots. Something isn't right here. My first guess, Quicksilver said, is that you read my thoughts using magic, and that's how you found out my real name. Mind magic? The stranger let out a sharp, rasping laugh that dissolved into a cough. That's rich. And are you the kind of person to go around using mind magic without a care in the world? I hardly think so. But I've never used any magic at all, said Quicksilver. Mind magic, the stranger muttered. Mind magic indeed. I don't much feel like scrambling my skull like an egg on a skillet, do I? I don't much feel like losing my sense of up and down and how to put one foot in front of the other, do I? No, I did indeed, I do not. Mind magic. All right, fine. Quicksilver crossed her arms and began to pace. So I got that one wrong. Ha! Mind magic. Slyboots and Fox followed Quicksilver as she paced. Quicksilver, listen to me, said Slyboots. Let's go home and we'll start again with our lessons tomorrow. We'll climb up onto the magistrate's house in the morning. How about that? Or the roof of the inn? Not quite so high as the church, but much less steep, which I think you'll agree can only be an advantage. Just let me think, won't you? 2 guesses left, the stranger called blithely from her stool, and Quicksilver's stomach clenched, for there it was again, that feeling of familiarity in the tone of the stranger's voice. That voice sounded like someone at the convent, perhaps? But that couldn't be right. This stranger was obviously no one Quicksilver had met before. If she doesn't stop shouting, someone will hear, Slyboots whispered. He tugged on the ends of his scarf and groaned. Oh, can't we just go home? My parents need to eat. What if they're in pain? What if their fever's returned? Parents. Quicksilver stopped pacing, seized by sudden inspiration. Come back, whispered the treacherous thought from earlier that day. A northern wind snaked through Willow-on-the-River, ruffling Quicksilver's hair. She drew her patchwork cloak tight around her body and felt, in that moment, that the world had never been larger. I have my second guess, she said. This is happening more quickly than usual, remarked the stranger, leaning forward to prop her chin on her hands. You're a curious one, you are. Oh, and do you collect many little girls on your travels? Slyboots marched over to her with clenched fists. What do you do with them? Do you eat them? Do you throw them into the sea? The stranger lifted an eyebrow. At her feet her dog lifted his head and growled. No, I only do that to boys who don't know when to shut their mouths. Slyboots shrank back behind Quicksilver. She'll cut my throat, she will. You are my mother, Quicksilver tried to say, but fear clung to her voice, choking it. And though she tried not to hope, for what did hope ever do but leave you open to hurt? She could not help it. A light, fluttery feeling bloomed inside her, and she could hardly look up at the stranger's eyes, uncertain of what she might find there, and what she might not. You are my mother, she said again, forcing her voice steady, and that's how you know my name, because you are the one who gave it to me. The square fell silent, save for Fox's whimpers and the hiss of the wind. Even Slyboots stopped wringing his hands. The stranger's face seemed caught between too many painful things, and in that moment she looked not old, but young, a girl trapped in a crone's body. Then the church bells ringing midnight, 12 low, mournful strikes. The stranger rose to take Quicksilver's chin in her hand. Now Fox was the one to growl. You should forget about your parents, said the stranger. They abandoned you. They're not worth thinking about. Don't waste one more moment on them. Doing so will only ever bring you pain." Quicksilver, his eyes filled with tears, but she refused to let them fall. "Oh, and how do you know that?" "I know. Accept it, and let it be." The stranger returned to her stool. The old dog leaned his hand against her leg. "One more guess, little thief," she said, her voice tired and thin. "Consider carefully."
She seems like really self-centered and stuff. 'Cause, like, she calls herself like the best thief in like Starlands.
Well, she's a really unique character. Like, you won't get her in a lot of other books because she has a very unique personality and she lives a very unique life. So you can't really compare her to anyone else because she's such a diverse person.
Well, describe her relationship with Fox then. Now, Fox isn't a fox. We have to make that clear. No.
So Fox is a dog.
So their relationship at the beginning, it seems like really strong and stuff. Then when he's able to talk, they seem to like drift apart because like he's like not nice to her at all, and he's also like really self-centered, so he'll just like talk about himself and like not really care about anyone else. But then like when they learned to use magic together, then like they became closer and then they love each other again.
He's not really a dog, though, either.
No, he's kind of like her sidekick. He kind of channels her magical powers because she's a witch, but they're also companions and friends. They're called monsters. They're like, every witch has a monster, but some of them have hawks or pigs or any kind of animal.
Well, if you were given a monster, as they call it in the book, or a companion or a sidekick, I think sidekick's a great way to describe it, what would you pick and why?
I think I would have a bunny rabbit because, like, they can hop around and they can hide in little places and they couldn't talk to anyone but me because they seem so shy. To be bonded with a bunny rabbit, like, bunny rabbits don't talk to anyone, so it means you're special because they like you.
I want a cat because they're like they can be like really mischievous and like sneaky and like feisty sometimes, so like they'd be good at fighting like the Wolf King or something.
I would choose a snake. Snakes are fearsome and they're good at fighting, but they're also secretive and kind of sneaky, and they kind of have their own personalities.
You know, sometimes it's more fun to read it in books than to actually do it, but would you like to go on a quest?
I'm not sure, because I like adventure. I love traveling and seeing new stuff. I'm not one for, like, just a routine and doing the same thing day after day, but it would be kind of interesting because in this quest, she doesn't know what's going to happen next. She doesn't know how it's going to change her life and everybody else's.
Could you live with that kind of insecurity?
I don't think so, no.
I wouldn't go on a quest if I still live the life I live right now because I really like my life and I think it's a really good life and I wouldn't want to leave it. But if I lived Quicksilver's life, which is the main character, I would, because she's a really, really lonely person. Like, her main friend is a dog, and that dog will follow her anywhere. It doesn't matter where she is. And, like, on this quest, she loses, like, a lot.
Well, is it the fear of the losses that make you have a second thought about jumping into a quest?
Yeah, I guess it is, because I have a lot to lose, and she didn't have as much. So if it were my life, I wouldn't do it. And if it were hers, well, she didn't have as much in her life, so there was less to lose, so I guess I would, yeah.
I think I would. I think I'd like not knowing what happens and like the anticipation. It seems like a challenge. I think it would just like be really fun to go on one.
Well, what kind of personal traits would you bring to a quest?
I might want to be like really quiet and sneaky so like no one could see me coming.
I don't know, I love the outdoors, so I spend a lot of time in it, and I don't think you get, like, 5-star hotels when you're on a quest, so that might be helpful. I mean, I'm a very positive person.
I read a lot, and I'm very good, at least I think, at kind of reasoning and some of the more mental aspects of quests, even if I'm not a very outdoorsy person like Iona, and I'm not very sneaky or good at that stuff like Gabby, but I can do more of the mental reasoning.
You guys would make a great team for a quest. You seem to have different skills. No, you'd hate each other halfway through.
No,
All right.
I get so mad. I would, like, kill Kylos. I would be like, why can't you just be positive for once? Can you, like, run? We're being chased right now. Like, this is why I told you to practice running. You never practiced. I told you would need this one time in your life. And then I would be like, Gabby, if you're in trouble, you have to scream. And you'd be like, I was screaming. I'd be like, no, you were whispering. Why would you think that was screaming? Like, you were whispering. Like, I don't know. Like, they're great friends, but quest.
Do you disagree?
I think that we would make a good team because we know each other really well and we have different skill sets that would probably work well together.
Our readers have a long list of questions for writer Claire Legrand, so take it away, Gabby, Iona, and Kylas.
Why did you write it?
I wrote a collection of short stories called The Cabinet of Curiosities with 3 other authors, and every week one of us would post a new short story, and every month we had a different theme. Our theme was tricks for April Fools. And I sat down the day that I was supposed to write, or the day I was supposed to post my story, rather, and I didn't have any clue. I hadn't started. I had no clue what I was going to write about, so I just sat down and started writing. And that's what happens a lot of the time when you're a writer, a professional writer. You can't sit around and wait for inspiration to strike. Sometimes you're on a deadline and you just have to sit down and write and hope that what comes out is serviceable. And so I started writing this story about this girl who liked to play tricks on people. She was a thief and she was a troublemaker, and she lived in this town where she regularly played pranks on the citizens and stole their money and stole their food. And I wrote this story called Quicksilver and the Stranger. And it just sort of spilled out of me that day when I sat down to write frantically on deadline. And my editor and I, when we were approached by HarperCollins to turn the website into an anthology, my editor and I both really liked that story, and we liked this girl, Quicksilver, and we wanted to know more about her. So my editor approached me one day and said, what do you think about turning that short story into a novel and answering all these questions that I have about Quicksilver? And I was ecstatic because I had all these questions about Quicksilver and I wanted to tell her story. I sat down with the bare bones of her story set forth in that short story, and I started asking myself questions. There was a hint of magic in the original short story, and so I asked myself questions. That's what I do a lot when I'm trying to figure out a story. Okay, well, is there magic in this world? Yes, there is. How does it work? Who can do it? What are the rules? Is there something unique about how this magic works compared to magic in other stories? And I just started asking myself those questions and having a lot of fun just dressing the bones of this world once I had figured out what it was all about. And I wanted to create a story that was like the books I had devoured as a kid. Fantasy books like The Chronicles of Narnia and The Dark is Rising sequence and A Wrinkle in Time, all these wildly imaginative books that just wrapped me up in them and took me to another place. I wanted to create a world like that. So that's how Foxheart was born.
How did you come up with the characters Quicksilver and Fox?
Fox. I love Fox. He's probably my favorite character too. He was so fun to write. I always loved animal companions and talking animals and books about animals growing up, and there are lots of animals in Foxheart, and that was really fun for me. I knew that one of the things Quicksilver has to learn throughout the book is how to open herself up to loving and being loved. She's very protective and defensive at the beginning of the book. She's not very loved. She's been bullied. She's been abandoned by her parents. So she's understandably guarded and closed off. And one of the things she has to learn throughout the book is that she is actually stronger when she opens herself up to loving and being loved, as scary and as vulnerable as that is. And I thought, well, the first step for her for being able to do that is to have a best friend, someone that she trusts and she grows up with, and someone she loves unreservedly and who kind of teaches her through that friendship how to love. And I thought, what better way to do that than with a girl's best friend, a dog. I have a dog myself, and he sat by me while I wrote the book, and it was just, I loved writing their relationship. That was kind of Quicksilver's relationship with Fox is her doorway to the world of relationships and feelings and friendships, and I really loved writing the two of them.
please write a sequel. Like, I beg of you. I love this book. Write a sequel. Please.
Perhaps, but it is not something that has been officially announced yet, and it may not be a sequel in the traditional sense. That's all I can really say about it. But am I done with this world? No, I am not.
So we like to end our shows by asking everyone the big question: what is your favorite book? Claire Legrand, maybe you even have a favorite author.
His Dark Materials trilogy by Philip Pullman is probably my favorite series I've ever read. I read it when I was older. It made me want to be a serious writer. And I love the main character, Lyra. And I think you will see shades of Lyra and her daemon, Pantalaimon, I think is how you pronounce his name, in Quicksilver and Fox.
And what about you guys? Got a favorite book or maybe a favorite book series?
I'd say I have a favorite author who writes in one genre, Rick Riordan. He's amazing. I love all his books. Percy Jackson series is his most renowned one. I love his writing style, where it's fantasy, but it's in the modern world, and it also has a lot of humor in it. And he's a very good writer. He has a lot of imagery, and I think is good at the whole writing process. He has a unique way of writing.
My favorite series is probably the Harry Potter series because it has like the aspect of adventure. Like, I like that.
I used to read a lot of rewrites of Disney stories because I found them really, I don't know, it's just like they're so magical. I always wanted to be a princess. My favorite was always Snow White. I loved her because I didn't like Sleeping Beauty at all. Like, she made it through her whole life just being beautiful, and Snow White was the exact opposite because she almost got killed because she was beautiful, but yet she was like still beautiful inside, and she never downed herself, and I found her just a really nice person, and that story always stuck in my head, so I guess it was always just Snow White.
We'll have a list of everybody's favorite book at our website, bookclubforkids.org. And if you want to be on the Book Club for Kids podcast, just have your teacher, parent, or librarian just do what Kyla did. Send us an email to kitty@bookclubforkids.org. That's KITTY@bookclubforkids.org, and we will send you out all the information. It's super easy and it's a lot of fun. Book Club for Kids is funded in part by the D.C. Commission on the Arts and Humanities, an agency supported in part by the National Endowment for the Arts and by listeners like you. Thanks this week to Jonathan Jensen, who composed and performed our music, and Emma Stein-Kellner, who designed our logo, and thanks to our celebrity reader, Wesley Mann, and our readers at Boulder Bookstore, Gabby, Iona, and Kylis. And of course, thanks to our writer, Claire Legrand. We have a free newsletter for teachers, parents, and librarians full of free tips about how to turn your kids into lifelong readers. You can sign up at the website, bookclubforkids.org. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even Pinterest. I'm Kitty Feldy. Thanks again for listening.